Hi there, everybody. I'm back to talk one more time about ATSSB low clarinets. This year for the 2021 audition series, we're in year E. So your second etude is going to be on the very first page of your book, and it is etude number 2. Now, the very first thing that you guys are probably noticing as you look at this is that it is in 3/8 time. So let's talk about 3/8 time. What that means is that there are 3/8 notes per measure. Now, there's a couple different ways to count this. I'm going to give you 2 different ways to look at it. The first way I'm going to talk about is as you're learning, your learning counting way. Normally we count the same way as we're learning, but in this instance, I think that we could make a good case for changing our counting method later on, and you'll see why. So what I want to do at first is, as we're going really slow, I want you to think of each of those eighth notes as if you're in 3/4 time. So they are 1, 2, 3. Okay. Some people might call it 1 te te or 1 la li. It doesn't really matter, but as long as it makes sense for you. But for my purposes, what I'm going to teach you today is we're going to talk about them just being 1, 2, 3 at the moment. All right. To make things a little bit more clear, I'm going to spin my stand around. I'm going to show you my music as I'm marking it to let you know exactly what you should be doing. So here we go. Let's take a little trip around the world. Get a pencil here. All right. So let's turn you guys around, or rather I'm turning myself around, I suppose. All right, etude number 2. Here we go. 3/8 time. Wow. So to get an idea of what I'm talking about, let's just go all the way over here to this measure, because it's it makes a little more sense when you see it this way. This right here is going to be beat 1. This note is going to be beat 2. And this note is going to be beat 3. So this is down, down, and down. As slow as we're going, that is going to make sense, okay? So what that's going to do is it's going to make you think these 16th notes are really 8th notes, which means you're going to play down, up, down, up, down. Here's your little upbeat. Down, up, down, up, down. Same thing over here. Down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down. 1 te, 2 te, 3, 1 te, 2 te, 3, 1 te, 2 te, 3, 1, 2, rest. And you're going to see that same pattern repeated quite a bit in this etude. Okay, same thing here. These guys are down, up, down, up, down, up, 1 te, 2 te, 3 te. Apply that same idea throughout. Here's another one of these up there. If you know it up here, you know it down there. Same thing. If you know it here, you know it there. And that's really the only 2 figures that you're going to see. So I'm going to count this. 1 te, 2 te, 3, 1 te, 2 te, 3, 1 te, 2 te, 3, 1, 2, rest. 1 te, 2 te, 3, 1 te, 2 te, 3, 1 te, 2 te, 3, 1, 2, rest. 1 te, 2 te, 3 te, 1 te, 2 te, 3 te. You get the idea, okay? Fantastic. Now, while we're looking at this for just a moment, let's talk about the errata that's on here. There in your book, there are probably a couple of wrong notes. Let's talk about those real quick. Look right down here. This measure should read, see my just upside down, E, C. This is shown as a G in your book. It should be an A. Same thing over here. We have C, A. This is shown as, I believe, an F in your book, but it should be an E. So make sure you change those 2 notes, A and E. All right, let's get back down here and let's talk about a couple other places. Here we go. Okay, so articulation. It's a big deal in this etude. It changes a lot, doesn't it? Look at all the different slur sets. So in the very beginning, you have slur the first 2, tongue the rest, slur the first 2, tongue the rest. Okay, you see that quite a bit. Then you jump down, measure 9, and you have a really long set of slurs. Okay, get to measure 10, you slur the last 2. measures 11 and 13, you're slurring 2 at a time. But measure 12 is different. So you've got to really sit down and look at how the articulation changes throughout this entire etude. That's going to be very, very important. You can play all the right notes in the right places at the right time, but if your articulation isn't correct, you're not going to get the placing that you're going for, okay? So double check all of those articulations and make sure that you've got them right. The other thing that I want to talk about, and this is something that's just kind of optional, is the use of the low E's, okay, the fingering pattern. Now, most of you probably, and I'm going to show this to you on my B-flat clarinet because it's smaller and easier to see. I'm going to scoot up close. A lot of you probably play your low E with 2 pinkies, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. In this etude, you can play the low E's with 2 pinkies throughout and probably do a dandy job. Absolutely fine job, okay? But what I would like to do is present an alternative. In the land of woodwinds, it's always a good idea, this is one of our rules that we try to follow, is to keep all of the motion in the same hand as much as possible. So if this hand's already moving, if I have the option to keep going with my pinky in this hand, I should take it instead of crossing over to this one, because then we don't have to worry about cross-body coordination. For example, let's look in measure 5, okay? Measure 5. You go from C to low E to G. Most of you are probably looking at this and playing it C, low E, 2 pinkies, to G. That's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that if it's clean, okay? But I would like to suggest that you play C to low E, which is this guy down here. Because to go to G, 1 finger lifts up. You're following 2 rules. You're keeping the motion in the same hand, and you're moving as few fingers as possible. Less chance of one of those little ba-doopy-doops that we don't really like, that don't sound very good. Okay, so you can either play C, low E, G, or C, low E, G, whatever you're most comfortable with. Throughout this entire etude, you have the opportunity to use this key right here for your low E, and in one spot your B natural. And I would take the opportunity if you can train yourself to do it. Now, let's talk about doing that on bass clarinet for just a moment. Sometimes we have extra keys down there on the right hand for our bass clarinetists, okay? And mine has even more extra keys because it's a super fancy clarinet. A lot of you don't have this one right here. So let's just pretend that this guy doesn't exist for a moment. And most of you have 2 here and then 3 because this is your low E flat key, okay? The key that you're looking for your low E is going to be the middle one of your set of 3. Some of you may notice, and I talked about this in my other video about the left C, that I have put a little piece of Velcro tape right here on this key. It's not the prickly side, it's the soft fuzzy side. I've just got some of that Velcro tape and cut it into a thin strip and I put it on here. I do that for all of my students, and it makes it easier to find your pinky orientation and know where you're at and what note you're playing. Because when you have 6 keys to choose from, or even just 5, sometimes it can get confusing as to which one is where, especially if you're not an all-the-time bass clarinet player. So keep that in mind. That's just a little trick that you might want to use, but if you're on a school-owned instrument, you better ask before you do it, which most of you probably are on a school-owned instrument now that I think about it. Anyways, it's still a good idea. If you can talk your band director to doing that for you, it's gonna be a big help right here, and then also on your little golf club C right up here. I like to do that for all of my students. It's a handy dandy little trick. All right, guys, that is about all that there is in this etude. Oh, I didn't talk about the second counting method. Oh my gosh. So as you're going slow, and this is at 30, okay, I have my triplet down. Let's make it where you can hear all the triplets. Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1 tay, 2 tay, 3. 1 tay, 2 tay, 3. 1 tay, 2 tay, 3. 1, 2. Okay, nothing wrong with that. However, as you get faster, let's say, what's the tempo they give? Okay, so here we are. This is at 70, which isn't as fast as they've asked you. Well, no, I think 60 is as fast as they've asked you to go. But at this tempo, it's really hard for your foot to go 1 tay 2 tay 3, 1 tay 2 tay 3, 1 tay 2 tay 3, 1 2 3. It's too hard to keep up with that. So what we do is we count it in 1. okay? Which means your foot only taps the first beat. So it's gonna sound like this. 1 ta 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 ta, dee da 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 da, 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 da 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 da, dee da. Make sense? So that's in one. I wouldn't recommend that you do that until you get faster, and that's something that's going to come very naturally. As you get your metronome faster and faster, you're going to find that it's going to be hard to tap your foot that fast. And when you get to that point, just tap the first beat and everything's gonna fall right into place, and you're gonna be really comfortable with this, all right? Great. So I really hope that you guys have a successful year. I hope that this all works out for you in this really strange COVID year that we're having. As you practice, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. And if you have questions, concerns, or smart remarks, you can email me, post them in the comment section. My email is going to be in the description of this etude. So be great, be wonderful, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.